Did anyone ever truly tell you what life after 80 feels like? Not the polite versions with cake and congratulations, but the real shift, the one that moves beneath the surface. Because entering your 80s is a transition not just of years, but of reality. You begin to notice the silence in places that once held voices. You wake to mornings that stretch longer, not always from peace, but from absence. There's wisdom, yes, but also space, more than you expected. And sometimes that space echoes. This video isn't meant to scare you. It's here to prepare you. Because when you see what's coming, you can meet it. Not with fear, but with steady grace. If you're in your 80s or approaching them, stay with us. Because this isn't just about facing change. It's about reclaiming strength within it. If you're finding value already, take a moment to subscribe. Let's build a space where truth and dignity walk together. 1. A social circle that quietly disappears. The first change isn't your body, it's your world. The people who used to call, visit, laugh with you, they slowly step away. Not out of unkindness, just out of time. Friends pass, neighbors move, siblings grow quiet. And one morning, the phone simply doesn't ring. Walter, 84, used to meet his friends at the same cafe each morning. No need for texts. It was a rhythm, but one by one, they stopped coming. Now he sits alone in the corner booth, still ordering the same coffee, but with a different silence. That's the kind of loneliness no one prepares you for. But here's the truth. Just because connections fade doesn't mean you're powerless. After 80, connection doesn't arrive. You create it. Whether through a weekly lunch, a phone call you initiate, or even a letter, you reach out. Because the courage that carried you this far, it's still here, and it still opens doors. 2. A body that stops bouncing back. By the time you reach 80, your body speaks louder. The quiet aches that once came and went now stay longer. Fatigue lingers. A single night's poor sleep can affect your entire week. And sometimes, even when everything feels fine, a small shift sneaks in. A dizzy spell, a sore joint, a cough that won't let go. This is what no one tells you. After 80, even minor issues can rewrite the shape of your days. It's not just about pain. It's the unpredictability. You can eat right, rest well, move gently, and still feel like your body is writing its own rules. Gloria, 81, loved gardening. Active, engaged, proud. But after a minor fall trimming a rose bush, things changed. What she expected to be a few days of rest turned into weeks of lost strength. I thought I was just taking a break, she said, but my body treated it like a full stop. That's the shift. Rest doesn't always restore the way it once did. It can quietly turn into decline. And even when you're careful, your body sometimes chooses to slow down without your permission. But in knowing this, you gain power. You start honoring energy, not as something to push, but to protect. You pace yourself, not out of fear, but respect. You treat health like the sacred rhythm it is. You walk slower, but with more awareness. You rest longer, but with more purpose. And in that steadiness, you discover something unexpected. Even without the bounce, you are still strong. Maybe stronger than ever. Because now your strength isn't measured in speed, but in presence, in grace, in choosing to keep moving forward, one steady step at a time. 3. A growing need for help. No matter how independent you've been, one of the hardest truths after 80 is this. You start needing help for things that once felt automatic. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in, quietly. You hesitate before using the stairs. You think twice before driving in the rain. You notice your grip isn't quite what it used to be. And even though your mind feels sharp, your body asks for backup. But the hardest part? It's not physical, it's emotional. When you've spent a lifetime caring for others, the idea of becoming the one who needs care can feel uncomfortable, even painful. You might downplay it. Skip the grocery trip. Stay quiet about the fall you had last week. Reach for the high shelf, even when your shoulder aches. But here's the truth. After 80, independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means knowing when to ask and being brave enough to accept. Eugene, 85, built his life with his own hands. A war vet, a father, a fixer. One winter, he slipped on his driveway. No serious injury, but a shaken sense of control. His daughter began visiting weekly. At first, he resisted. "I'm fine," he'd say. But over coffee, something shifted. "It's nice," he admitted one day, "not to carry everything alone." That's the power of acceptance. Sometimes help comes from people. Sometimes from grab bars, kitchen stools, or reminders on the fridge. These aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of wisdom. Because the older you get, the more strength you show by choosing peace over struggle, safety over pride, and connection over silence. And sometimes the bravest words you can say are simply, "I could use a hand." 4. A presence the world starts to overlook. One of the most painful changes after 80 isn't about health or memory. It's about presence. The slow, quiet way the world begins to look past you. The cashier talks to the person behind you. The doctor addresses your adult child, not you. The waiter assumes you need help reading the menu. It starts subtly, then more often. And eventually, even if you don't say it aloud, you feel it. I'm not being seen. This isn't just about ego. It's about dignity. You've lived through wars, built families, held jobs, loved, grieved, endured. And now you're met with assumptions instead of questions, dismissals instead of attention. Irene, 86, volunteered at a local museum. One day, a visitor asked a question about a decade she lived through. The staff answered. Irene stood by, invisible. When asked how it felt, she smiled softly and said, "I'm used to it." But behind that smile was a truth no one should carry, being treated like background instead of history. But here's the reminder, your worth hasn't faded. You are not furniture. You are not a shadow in the corner. You are a witness to time, a voice of experience. And if the world forgets that, you don't have to. Speak, ask, offer your opinion, share your stories, vote, participate. Not because you need approval, but because your presence is a gift. You don't have to shout, but you do have to refuse to disappear. Every time you raise your voice, share your truth, or simply show up, you remind others and yourself that you are still here, still valuable, still very much alive. 5. A sense of regret. If purpose isn't redefined, there's a stillness that comes with life after 80. The calendar quiets, the pace softens, and in that quiet, something unexpected can rise. Reflection. That reflection can be beautiful, or it can become heavy. Not loud or dramatic, but quiet and piercing. Why didn't I take that trip? Why didn't I say what I felt when I had the chance? It's the ache of time passed, and not always used the way you hoped. This isn't often talked about. We speak of wisdom, retirement, grandchildren, but not about what happens when activity fades and the space around you starts asking, now what? Stanley, 88, had taught for over 40 years. After retirement, he felt proud, but also adrift. "No one needs me anymore," he once said. But that wasn't true. He just hadn't yet found a new way to be needed. Because purpose doesn't disappear with age, it transforms. Maybe you no longer lead meetings, but you lead by being present for someone grieving. Maybe you can build like before, but you can build confidence in a grandchild with a story from your youth. Maybe your days are quieter, but your smile still interrupts someone's loneliness. The danger of regret isn't that you've made mistakes. We all have. It's sitting in them too long without letting them teach you something new. Redefine purpose, not as productivity, but as presence. Because even now you can wake up and ask, how can I bring a little light today? That's not regret, that's redemption, and it's never too late to live from it. Reaching your 80s is no small thing. It's a milestone etched in stories, struggles, joys, and deep resilience. But with that strength comes a new kind of honesty, one that sees life clearly, without illusion. Maybe you've felt the sting of silence when your circle shrinks, the frustration of a body that won't recover like before, the quiet pain of needing help after a lifetime of giving it, or the ache of being unseen in a world that rushes past you. But here's the truth. None of that makes you less. In fact, it makes you more real, more wise, more powerful in the ways that matter now. Because even here, even now, you still have choice. You can choose connection, even when it takes effort. You can choose to ask for help, not out of weakness but wisdom. You can choose to speak up, share your story, and remind others and yourself that your presence still carries weight. This chapter of life isn't a slow fade. It's the part of the story where every word means more, where gestures are quieter but deeper, where your patience, your humor, your hard-earned grace become your legacy. So walk forward, not with fear, but with that quiet strength that has carried you all along. Because you're still here, and you still matter more than ever.